Welcome to the Living Yoga Podcast. My name is Darren Main, and in this podcast, I like to talk to people who are smarter than me about all things having to do with yoga and meditation and spirituality and health and wellness. Today, I'm going to be talking to a very old friend of mine. We have known each other for many, many years. I don't know if they're going to share the dirt with with you all about me, but their name is Lucid Dawn. And they are the author of Dispelling the Binary. And we're going to talk about that. What is a binary generally, and not just around gender, but about all things? And how is that related to yoga? Because it's a pretty important aspect of yoga philosophy and practice. If you have comments or questions or concerns, you agree or disagree with either of us, you can post them in the comments. I will also post a link to Lucid Dawn's website so you can get in touch with them. And if you would like to spend more time with the two of us, I will also put a link to the Green Yogi Teacher Training because we are going to be the two lead teachers in the upcoming version of that training. And I'm super excited and honored to be one of the Wonder Twins. I do want magical rings. And I'll also put links to my website and social media so you can connect with me as well. With that, I'm going to bring in Lucid and we can talk about dispelling the binary. Lucid, welcome.
Thank you, Darren. So grateful and honored to be here with you as well. And yeah, I guess I'll just bounce off where you began. I'm not that old. I think I'm only a tiny bit older than you. But yes, we have known each other a long time since my first teacher training in 2006. After doing yoga for 12 years or so, I decided it was time. And you were one of my lead teachers. And now we're here together, teaching together. So I feel really honored and just love how it's all come together. Yeah.
Well, it is so amazing, leading teacher trainings over the years. And, some people just do a training to just deepen their practice, and that's great. But every once in a while, there's teachers that go and they don't just teach as a side hustle or just deepen their practice, but they take that ball and they run with it and they go change the universe,
Yeah.
change the world, putting their own unique style and spin on the practice of yoga. And you are one of those people that I just have marveled watching over the years at what you've done since those early days when we were both young and innocent.
Yeah.
You're still young and innocent. I'm old and tired, but not so innocent. And you're an author, which is super exciting. And you've got a book, Dispelling the Binary. I think this term, it doesn't have to be political, but for whatever reason, it's become political. And I think it's very misunderstood. What is a binary and why do we need to dispel it? So why don't we start with what is a binary? It's obviously something you're passionate about. How does it relate to yoga and why do you decide to write a book about it and why should we dispel it?
Yeah.
Take that where you will.
Okay. And mind time. Thank you for asking. And it is the way the book begins. I love words and etymology and really breaking things down. And binary specifically means when we have two choices, when that's all there is, or what we're led to believe there is, or a star that has two parts. That's the science version. So, yeah, it's become political, I guess, as you say, mostly around gender and the way that gender has become political, sadly. Well, sadly, not sadly, because, it's been political for a very long time. For anyone to say, no, you can't be who and how you are, there's only this way or that way, that is some old news that came along with the founding of this country by the colonizers. As there were many genders in this country and different tribes before colonizers got here. And I think over the past bunch of years or a couple decades, folks have just been waking up more and more to the fact that, wait, we have an option. Someone decided long ago this is all there is, and that's not all there is. There's a whole spectrum of gender and many ways that humans show up and self-express, and it's very archaic to think females need to be girls and women and act like ladies and all the rules that come with that, and that males that need to be boys and men and act like men. And yeah,
Mm.
like those people have suffered those old constructs long enough. So thereby, we are not trying to get rid of the binary. I'm not saying smash the binary. I'm not saying, delete the binary. It's just dispelling it. We've been under the spell
Mm.
of it, literally,
Y-
like with the words that we've been told, under this spell. This is how things are supposed to be. So just to dispel that power over us and still see we can choose this or that, but oh, there's a whole bunch more in the middle.
Yeah. I am going to say this as someone who has a male body and is loosely male identified. I have found in my own work and myself, especially early on, that I think because I didn't fit neatly into that binary of um, we hear these terms as men and boys about man up or be a man, as
Hmm.
if it's something you need to become or you need to jump through certain hoops or check certain boxes. But what if you have a male body and you like caring for children, or you know want to be a nurse, or whatever the thing is that we have classically said, this is in the girl camp and this is in the boy camp, and if you're going to be a real man you can't do this, and if you're going to be a real woman you can't do that.
Hmm.
And it's when your authenticity lies outside those binaries, it can, until you come to terms with that, it can be deeply destructive. I mean, like, virtually everything I struggled with early in my life was the fact that I wasn't a real boy because I didn't like a lot of the real boy stuff. I wanted a Betty Crocker Easy Bake Oven more than anything, and I got a baseball mitt instead. And I'm still bitter.
Yes. I
If
hope
my
you got
mom's watching, I hope she hears that.
I hope you got your good oven now. It's a really nice thing to have. But yeah, that those constructs, exactly. Boys don't cry, you throw like a girl, all these insults that are thrown at children to make them feel like there's something wrong with them. And, again, there's just so much suffering around that I think we're over. We need to be over. And obviously, we have a current climate, at least I don't want to pick sides. That's the whole thing. We all have struggled with these binaries in one way or another, whether it's boy and girl or black and white or good or bad or right or wrong or left or right or
Yeah.
whatever, all the things that feels that we are sort of made to feel when we are young, that we have to choose one way of being. I think we have many different facets, all of us, that change throughout our time and of life and throughout the environments that we're in and what roles we're playing. And ideally, we get to play with them all. And for me, that's where yoga was so healing, because I too had these kind of fractions in my early life of being kind of a tough girl and coming from a multiracial family and just being a very dynamic individual, very outgoing, very internal, very wild, very quiet. And yeah, just kind of being made to feel like something's wrong with me. And so yoga, that, the most common word of yoga or meaning of yoga that we know is to bring to union, to bring together, to yoke all the parts of ourselves. And so for me, yoga was a huge part of my healing journey. I found about when I was 19 years old, just a few years into getting sober and finding healing in lots of ways. And and more, especially for me, especially as I found Tantra, like in 2011, 2009 first with a book, and then 2011, just saying yes to all that we are, to staying curious about all that we are, to being able to really investigate this multidimensional being that we are, and how each being can bring out different facets of us, and why, keep drawing lines about where things are supposed to stop or start or be one way or another. It never made sense to me. So,
And do you think? I remember when I came out. I'm a gay man, and when I came out, The binary was so entrenched at that time, a little less so now, a little less so, got a long way to go. But I remember when I first came out to various people, um, and they weren't saying this to be mean. They couldn't comprehend. They'd say, "So when you date someone, are you the man or the woman?" I'm
Mhm.
like, "We're both men, and that's what makes us gay." That's sort of the point. Um, and I think there's something comforting. I think it's a false comfort, but there's something simple about like watching an old western and seeing a white hat and a black hat and knowing there's the good guy, there's the bad guy, or
Mhm.
there's the man and there's the woman, there's the up, there's the down, there's the good, there's the evil, there's the right, there's the wrong,
Yeah.
and it's not that easy. It never is,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know.
Yeah.
How does I guess my question for you is how does yoga or spiritual practice in general, how do you see that as helping us to be in that uncomfortable gray area between the two polarities?
Yeah, that's a big part of it and why this work, because it's not like we can just throw off those shackles of binary conditioning, because we are so conditioned with it. Even, recognize that in my early relationship with a trans person, and I was like, "So, do I get to be the boy?" And they were like, "No, you get to be Lucid, and I will be Jess." Like, oh my gosh, it just felt so stupid that night. I was already years into studying like non-duality, and just like, wow, to keep watching how that conditioning creeps up. And this is what yoga is so great for, is watching ourselves, observing ourselves, looking at the patterns of consciousness that have been created within us by the things people told us, by our life experiences, through trauma, through societal structures and conditioning and programming of all sorts. And when we sit in a meditation or do asana practice and learn how to really see ourselves non-judgmentally and just notice, like, what is a programming that I didn't choose? Let it go. What is my truth underneath the way I think I'm supposed to or not supposed to be? What's actually who and how I am? And that is the beauty of it. We play with all these different shapes to find different aspects and ways of knowing ourselves, and then just the sitting and the watching. And often it's not a lot of work that needs to be done, but just that light of awareness that will dissolve things that are not truth. Yeah.
um, I have a theory that I want to run by you. You can tell
Right.
me if I'm. You can either tell me I'm completely wrong or agree with me, or be non-binary somewhere in between. A
Little
little
hug.
of both. Um, I believe that a lot of what we do on yoga is kicking over the first domino.
Mhm.
Not necessarily the biggest domino, but the first domino.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like a lot of like men and women come into yoga with a lot of pre-programming about what a male body can and should do, and
Mhm.
like common things that we've been told is men aren't as flexible as women. Yoga is a girl thing, not a boy thing. There's like a lot of stuff like that, and women are told a lot of stuff like, again, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Do you remember girl push-ups in the presidential physical fitness?
It's
That's
down.
where girls had to put their knees on the ground to do push-ups. They had to, or they were yelled at. They got in trouble. And boys couldn't put their knees on the ground, or they were wimpy girly boys and got scolded for that. I desperately wanted to put my knees on the ground, and I'm sure there was a girl in my gym class that resented having to do that. But
Mhm.
that messaging, and then we come to yoga and we bump up against that messaging
Mhm.
over and over again. And, you know, girls or people who are born in female bodies have been told their whole life that you're weak, you have no upper body strength, are all of a sudden doing handstands or chaturangas or whatever. And sort of kicking over that first domino. And boys or men or people in male bodies are realizing, wow, I actually can touch my toes and move my body in these ways that I thought was just for girls.
Mhm. Mhm.
And again, it's not the biggest domino. I mean, there's much bigger ones to kick over, but it feels like, it, for me anyway, I've seen it in my students, I've seen it in myself. It's sort of radical to like start to question those things that we've been told.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of a sudden everything else gets called into question, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and
um
and it's so funny to look at like what you're saying too, because of course, so much of this depends on time and place. Like at one point, yoga was only for men. Women weren't even allowed to do yoga. They had to hide and do secret yoga. It wasn't until Tantra that women were allowed to learn or practice or teach yoga. And that was a long time into the yogic practice. Like they were doing
mm,
yoga at the risk of their life sometimes. And then somehow it became a girly thing. And now girls bring their guys to yoga and they're like, whatever yoga. And then they're like, oh, whoa, wait, this is hard. So often harder than they think, and they're sweating and struggling and that's great. And then they love it and they keep coming back. And once in a while, my classes are more men than women. And I love that because this, again, is not just about the physicality, as you said, it's going to begin to knock down the dominoes. So even when people do come in for the yoga butt or whatever, they're going to end up meeting themselves on the mat, meeting themselves in practice and realizing, oh, there's more to this, seeing themselves change, finding more spaciousness in themselves, and perhaps meeting things that they have. Because we create binaries within ourselves too after we're this conditioning, at some point it's like, oh, that's the bad part of me. That's the part of me I'm not supposed to be. And there's all these divides within ourselves. So the subtitle of the book is Tools to Heal Manufactured Divides. And those are the ones within ourselves, as well as all the us and them that makes headlines, right? Which is why
yeah.
they use. And so this us and them, I feel like is really the big pain of our world these days.
Well, let's talk about the dark side of yoga for a
Mhm.
minute. I
Oh,
always like to go there.
yeah.
Um, no, I think there's a binary within yoga that I see all the time, and I would love your thoughts on it.
Mhm.
Where we're really good at the namaste and the soft spoken, what I think is just deep spiritual bypass. And it's hard for us to hold like our anger,
Mm.
right? It's all good. Well, sometimes it's not all good. Sometimes I can be angry, I can be fearful, I can be all of these things, and it's not less spiritual
Mhm.
than being joyful or blissful or whatever. My heart can be broken, it can be filled with love. It can be, like, and learning to hold all of those emotions, not necessarily react to all of them,
Mhm.
to hold them and to sit with them. Um, I feel like we prioritize the positive, the happy emotions, and
Mhm.
we downplay and almost shame the negative ones. And we do it with our bodies. Like I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, she has a beautiful practice," or "He has a beautiful." What they're saying is, "Oh, he's really flexible," or "He can do a handstand and put his foot behind his head." And that to me is not a beautiful practice. It's the person who can fall out of tree pose and not be ashamed of it.
Yes, yes.
you
I tell
know?
people all the time the advanced practice is not doing what everybody else is doing. If you're struggling, pull back, do
Mm.
something easier, be there. That's like the humility. That's the
Yeah.
advanced practice. Yeah.
I once heard Janet Stone say in a class, if you want to see the advanced students and copy what they're doing, look around. They're all in child pose right now.
Yeah, that. See, we practice
Yeah.
and teach long enough. We're like, oh wait,
Yeah.
this is the harder thing to do is like not try to feel like you need to do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I would like to, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the work we're going to do together. The two binaries in this program. Are you the yin or the yang? Or both? And I'll
Oh,
be
oh,
both.
there's this spot where the one swirls into the other, and maybe, I think we're both somewhere right there. We're in that
Yeah. We can take turns being yin and yang. How's that?
It's all a dance.
Um,
It's all a dance. Yeah.
I
I
do want Wonder Twin power rings, though. I really do.
really do love that idea also. Can I speak
Yeah.
real quickly? I'll try not to say too much. You can stop me if I do. But on that dark side of yoga thing,
Hmm.
the not expressing anger, like and grief and rage and sexuality and all these things that are like taboo, right? That's a big deal. Like when I'm from Boston, New York, and I came out here and experienced that, was just like first felt like everybody's so nice, and like, whoa, everybody is too nice. Like, where's the honesty, the rawness that's needed? So
Mm.
I actually created a character and had a yoga band where I was like this dark Kali character to give people permission to express that. And now I just kind of weave it in more. I think that's, what lion's breath is for, and fierce goddess pose, and like all these things. And especially now in these times, like rage can be beneficial. These
Yeah.
feels of anger and rage are what move us forward in life, and even guilt and grief. And so the dark side is a good thing, and they have better costumes.
Well,
Okay.
you look at the Hindu deities like Kali. I mean, she's like dancing around graveyards with a skull necklace,
Mhm.
with her black tongue hanging out. I mean, she's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's not because she's bad. Like we would think of that in Western culture as being evil or satanic or
Yeah.
dark. She's just an expression of like huge part of who we are that is uncomfortable for us to look at,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, Kali is actually often seen as the deepest love, like just that dark void that embraces us all, that we all come from, that we all go to, and really, truly the deepest love. And isn't love scary? Because it does include pain. Yeah.
Mm. Well, let's talk
That,
about the training. What are we gonna do with these folks? What kind of fun and mischief are we going to get into?
I love teacher training so much because, as you mentioned, it's not just about teaching yoga. It is tools for life. I feel like teacher training and improv classes make all the rest of life easier, and or maybe even necessary. So what I witness happening again and again in teacher training is folks coming in their own little bubbles and all them stories about themselves and about what yoga is or what they can or can't do, and then there's breakdowns always and they're beautiful, and then there's breakthroughs, and suddenly people are a little brighter and a little more connected to themselves and a little more courageous and able to speak their truth. And this beautiful connection happens with the group, where the group itself becomes its own teacher and teaching, and we're just there to hold that space. It's so beautiful to witness every time.
Mm.
And that comes through all the things, the asana, the philosophy, the breath work, the meditation, and the connection with each other, and the challenges of stepping up in front of people and speaking your truth, or leading something that you feel passionate about, but that you've been used to receiving for so long. And now you're like stepping into a seat that at first people feel that whole what's it called? When you don't feel like you belong there kind of thing. But eventually people realize they do. When we are in harmony with ourselves, right, then we learn we want to give that. We want to help other people be in harmony with themselves. So,
Yeah. I remember my first training, teacher training, many, many, many years ago in the early 90s. And it was at the Kripalu Center in Massachusetts. And it was right after the guru there had been kicked out for deeply inappropriate behavior. I know, shocking, a guru doing deeply inappropriate things. Um, and it was the most chaotic dumpster fire emotionally. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought, oh, I'm going to go be in this ashram and it's going to be peaceful. And I think they have unicorns there. And it was like, talk about Kali energy. It was just like raw emotion, my own and everyone else's. Even the people who lived there, I remember one of our teachers, was a resident there and a deep devotee of this guru, and she felt so betrayed and broken, and watching her just absolutely lose her shit, understandably. But it was nothing like what I expected, but it was the most beautiful time in my life. It was beautiful because it gave me permission to. I call it cleaning out your junk closet. You pull all this stuff out of your junk closet, and it's terrifying. It's easier to just shut the door and pretend, don't open that unless you're going to throw something else in really quick. but sometimes you need to pull it all out, sort it out, decide what you're going to keep, take a bunch of stuff to Goodwill, put
Mhm.
the other stuff back in the closet in organized little bins. Marie Kondo the hell out of that closet. And that to me is what teacher training is. And I've seen that over and over again, where a lot of people don't even know why they're in a training. But boy, is it like I don't know if you a feng shuiing of your psyche.
Absolutely. I actually use the same or relative analogy of reconstructing a house or, upgrading a house. It's like you have to make a mess. You have to take everything out or rearrange everything and then put it back and make it nice or how you want it instead of how it was with everything hidden underneath and broken behind and all the stuff. So yeah, we
Hmm.
do get to do that, to make a big mess, to be what we might have previously considered a big mess, and to see that that is the way through to the beauty that we know is possible. And that's what's carrying me through this time. And I feel like this kind of practice and teaching and teacher training can really help others get through this time that we're living in, where everything feels so messy. Like I wish it didn't have to be so messy and painful, and wish I could change a lot of it, make it speed up. But nonetheless, I trust that with devastation, there's always blessing right behind it. And so we get
You
to
know,
space for that.
as you're saying this, first, have you seen the movie Life as a House? It's one of my favorite movies of all time,
I don't know
and
if I,
it's like exactly what you were just saying about it. The main character finds out he's a brain tumor, and he's been living in his father's house for all these years,
mm,
meaning to tear it down and rebuild it. And finally, he does it with his teenage son, and it's very cathartic, but beautiful and funny. And like it mirrors like that internal transformation. So you
mm,
should watch it because it mirrors what you just beautifully articulated.
thank you.
Um, what was I forgot. I had another point and I completely lost it. I don't know what it
Well,
was.
I could pick up that thread maybe just a tiny bit, but I was like, oh, that movie might be hard for me to watch. My partner died last year of a brain tumor, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
already in the process of writing this book that was already kind of dedicated and inspired by them because they were a non-binary trans femme person, and I was just so sick of people asking them like, "Are you a drag queen?" or like, "Tell me about your gender journey," or it's just stupid questions because they don't know any better, but they're just trying to make connection. And it's so important that we make connection from informed, actually curious places and not lump people into like, oh, you're that kind of person, so you identify, you represent all those people, instead of talking to you as Darren, you as a representative of the gay men's community, like not all gay men are like you, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think again that's a big gift of yoga and of looking at what we're doing and why we're asking things of ourselves and of others, and how do we
Yeah.
make connection in a really life-giving way with ourselves and with other people. Yeah.
Yeah. May I ask you a personal question?
Always. I love that.
Yeah. How like I think yoga for most of us happens on good days, thankfully. We go, we just do our yoga practice, and the hardest thing we have to do is find parking at the yoga studio. But then there are times in our lives, like what you have been through, that are just devastation. And I'm wondering if you could, if you're open to it, if you're not, that's okay too, how yoga facilitated that experience for you,
Mm,
as opposed to like who would you have been had you not had yoga? How
mm,
would you have processed the experience of losing someone you love
yeah. Yeah.
without yoga?
I've lost a lot of people I love. To lose someone that you're that close with, like sharing your life, your home, your life plans with, your everything is definitely a huge painful thing. I never could have understand the kind of pain until I experienced it. And I have said and recognized along these couple of years or nearly coming up on 2 years, um, it tested every single thing that I've ever known or taught or believed about yoga. It tested all of my practices and all of my beliefs. And I was able to watch the mind when I felt like I was going to go crazy, when it felt like everything was gone, when it felt like nothing mattered anymore, when it felt like now I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and no one's ever going to love me like that again. And I'm broken now and that's it. What I got to know because of my yoga practice and witness and open to is one, what I call standing in the fire, just being able to be with the intensity of that kind of grief and pain and let it crack me open. So where I felt broken, I began to recognize pretty quickly that I wasn't broken. I was broken open. And I broke open hugely. And the goddess just came rushing in. Like every time I let myself feel that grief that I have previously been afraid of, and then I witness other people being afraid of, like, I'm afraid if I go there, I'll never come back. I'm going to go crazy if I feel this intensity of this kind of feeling. And I felt that, and I heard those stories, and I trusted, and I did the breath work, and I did the sitting with myself, and I did the opening of my body when I just wanted to close and curl up. And every time I did that and the sobbing would happen in a way that the sobbing just took over, there is a mechanism in our body, minds, or spirit coming in. Something happens where you don't go into it and get yourself lost there forever. It comes rushing and it takes over and then it goes away and there is bliss. There is the greatest love in the whole universe. There is the divine pouring in. There's ecstasy. And it's hard to explain and hard to put into words because it feels wrong that anything so painful and terrible could bring bliss and such a great love. But it did. And it still does. I sometimes now don't know if I'm having tears of the bliss of being so full with the divine and having this bridge to the other side, or if it is, the grief and loss. But it's just all kind of mixed up as one now, and I've had some incredible experiences because of being a meditator for so long where I've been able to see her and hear her and see God, see the God light. And I really let it wash through me. It's beyond words, but I did my best. There it is. Thanks for asking.
That is one of the most beautiful things I have ever heard somebody say about yoga. And one of the most beautiful things anyone's ever said on my podcast. And I think one of the most honest. I mean, like, frequently when I interview people for this podcast, it's to promote a book or something, some work they're doing. And it's beautiful and wonderful. And I love the work they're doing, and the book site we get to talk about are great. But so much of it is written from a place of like strength and feeling solid. But the real yoga happens when you don't feel strong.
Yeah.
When you're forced into child pose. Not you come to child pose willingly, but like the universe says, you're coming to child pose. And I've never heard somebody articulate it so beautifully as you just did. And I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Lucid, we're going to spend some time together, and I'm so happy about that.
I'm looking forward to
Lucid Dawn, the book is Dispelling the Binary. Lucid, do you have anything else you want to say or show? The book? I'll put a link to the book, of course, in your website in the show notes, as well as the training we're both going to be a part of. But is there anything else we missed or you'd like to touch on before we wrap?
I am creating an online course for the Dispelling the Binary. It started as a course originally for Soul Play Festival, and I'm currently creating a online version that people can do at their own pace or come together and do it with me the end of November till somewhere in December, 5 weeks. And yeah, because so many folks who've read the book are like, I need to talk to people about this. Like, it's very exercise and reflection and practice based content and work. It's a workbook. So
We can put a link to that in the show notes as well if you'd like.
yeah, that'll be on the Soul Play website too, but that's a festival here in Northern California, and that'd be great. Yeah, we'll link that, and I'll get the fire under my butt to get that done. Yeah, excited about it. Yeah, thank you, Darren. So grateful for you and the work that you're doing,
Thank you.
and thank you for yoga. Thank you to all the gods of yoga and all the beings who've kept yoga alive and all that supports us on this path. So, so, so
Yeah.
grateful. Just, yeah, so grateful. So honored.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm
Mm.
so excited that I get to join you on this journey. And I don't know who our students are going to be yet, but I
Mm.
have a feeling the most perfect people are going to find their way to this training we're doing. And it's
They're
going to
gonna
be
be
every
amazing.
bit as powerful as what you just shared.
Yeah, we're gonna fall in love with them. It happens every time. So fast. Yeah. Thank you.
If you would like to comment on anything you heard today, you can drop them in the comments on Spotify, Facebook, or I will be posting some clips on Instagram. You can also reach out to us. As I said, I'll put links to my information and Lucid's in the show notes so you can reach us easily. We would love to hear from you. And if you're in the Berkeley area, we both teach here. And again, the training, I will put links to that as well. Thank you, Lucid, so much. And I will see you at the studio soon.